I am Noah. Day 2 after the door closed, and the world as we knew it disappeared. The rain hasn't stopped for even a heartbeat. The ark trembles, moans, breathes like a living creature made of wood and prayer. Every sound inside this ship feels louder today. The pounding rain, the scraping of claws, the groans of the hull, the restless shuffling of beasts that cannot sleep. The lions keep roaring. They haven't stopped since dawn. Their voices echo through the entire ark, bouncing off the curved ribs of this floating cage. It's not a roar of hunger. It's not even anger anymore. It's something else, something deeper, older, and harder to name. It's like they're protesting the silence of God, or mourning a world that no longer answers back. Every time they bellow, the air shakes, and the animals fall quiet. Even the thunder hesitates. I watch them through the bars, their golden eyes burning in the dim torchlight, fur glistening with sweat and rain. They pace back and forth, restless, powerful, terrified of their own strength. Their roar fills the night, fills our chests, fills the space where words should be. My sons can barely stand the sound. Father, Sem said this morning, they're going to drive us insane. He wasn't wrong. The roar gets into your head. It makes your heartbeat stutter. It finds the fear hiding in your stomach and shakes it awake. Cam snapped at him, "You think the lions are the problem? The problem is being locked in this box, breathing the same air as beasts that could tear us apart." Ham told them both to stop arguing, but his voice cracked when he said it. I saw the tremor in his hand. Fear is contagious. The animals are restless, all of them. The horses stomp and snort, sweat dripping down their flanks. The oxen push against their wooden pens. The goats bleat and butt each other for no reason. Even the birds flutter and crash against their cages, wings beating the stale air. The elephants sway, low rumbling sounds deep in their throats. The smell inside the ark is thick damp straw, manure, pitch, wet fur, smoke, and the metallic scent of fear. We keep the torches burning, but the air grows thinner, heavier. Sometimes I think the ark is shrinking around us, the wood bending inward like a chest under pressure. Every creak sounds like a question. Every drop of water that leaks through the seams feels like an accusation. At one point, I climbed up to the upper deck just to feel air that wasn't soaked with breath. I stood under the roof beams and listened. The rain outside is relentless, slamming against the hull like fists. Through the cracks I can see flashes of lightning, but there's no horizon anymore, only gray, endless, and suffocating. I tried to imagine where the mountains used to be. I couldn't. When I came back down, the noise hit me like a wave. The lions had started again. The sound rolled through the ark like thunder under the skin. The horses reared. The goats scattered. Even my sons froze. The youngest covered her ears and started to cry. My wife held her close, whispering a prayer through her teeth, her face pale in the torchlight. I walked to the lion's cage. The male stood tall, his mane soaked, eyes glowing like embers. The female lay beside him, low growls vibrating from her chest. When he saw me, he stopped moving. We looked at each other for what felt like an eternity. I don't know why, but I spoke. "I hear you," I said. My voice cracked, small against his roar. "I hear you." He blinked slowly, then let out a deep sound, not loud this time, but heavy, almost a sigh. Then he turned away, pressed his head against the wooden wall, and was silent. For a few heartbeats, everything inside the ark was still. No roaring, no footsteps, no creaking, just the soft drip of water from the ceiling. It felt like the whole world held its breath. Then thunder broke it all apart again. Cam cursed under his breath. Sem muttered something about the rain never ending. Ham kicked a bucket and sent grain spilling across the floor. My wife shouted at them to stop, but her voice was swallowed by the storm. They're all breaking in their own ways. Cam hides his anger under work, always fixing, tying, hammering. Ham laughs too much now, a dry laugh that never reaches his eyes. Sem writes things down on scraps of cloth, words he doesn't show anyone. My wife keeps busy feeding the animals, but her hands shake when she thinks I'm not looking. The children barely speak. They cling to each other, staring at the walls like they're waiting for them to dissolve. I try to keep my voice steady when I give orders. Check the feed, tighten the ropes, watch the leaks, but my hands tremble too. I pretend it's from the cold. The truth is, I'm terrified. Terrified not of the storm outside, I've seen storms before, but of what's happening inside. The ark is holding, but the people are not. At midday, the rain turned violent again. The sea rose higher, tossing us like a leaf. The floor tilted, barrels rolled, animals screamed. The lions roared, the elephants trumpeted, the birds erupted in a frenzy of wings. I shouted for everyone to brace. The ark tilted so far, thought she would flip, but she didn't. She found her balance again, groaning like an old man rising from his knees. When it was over, I sat against the wall, soaked in sweat. My heart wouldn't slow down. Ham came to me, panting. "It's not the water I'm afraid of," he said. "It's the waiting." I knew what he meant. The waiting is worse than the rain. The waiting turns men hollow. We spent the afternoon repairing what had broken: a cracked beam, a leaking seam, torn sack of feed. Every task felt like a prayer we didn't know the words for. When my wife handed me a cup of water, she looked into my eyes and said softly, "They won't stop. The lions." "Do you think it means something?" "Yes," I said. "They're saying what we can't." That night, the roars returned, louder than ever. It wasn't just noise anymore, it was rhythm, like a drumbeat rising from the bones of the world. Every roar carried the weight of something and said, fear, grief, anger, longing. Maybe they missed the wind through the grass. Maybe they could still smell the earth under the water. Maybe they were mourning it for all of us. I couldn't sleep. None of us could. The ark floated through the dark, surrounded by water, filled with voices, human, animal, divine. I sat near the door, pressing my hand against the cold wood, and felt the vibration of their cries. I don't know if they were praying or protesting, but they reminded me that even trapped, we are still alive. When the sun finally rose, if you can call that gray light sun, the lions were silent. But the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt like the moment after a confession, when the truth still hangs in the air, waiting to be forgiven. The gray light makes it easier to count what's still working. Sem checks the feed bins with the careful hand, measuring what the oxen, goats, and horses actually eat instead of what we hope they will. Ham runs his fingers along the seams and calls out places where the pitch has tired. Cam lifts, moves, tightens, TIs. I move among them and try to be the place where decisions end. The lions are quiet for the first hour after dawn. The silence feels like a truce we didn't negotiate. The male lies with his head on his paws, eyes open, following me. The female rests against the wall, her ribs rising and falling slowly. I don't step closer. I've learned the distance that tells the truth. Near enough to see what's needed, far enough not to lie to myself about what I can control. We begin with water management. The lower corridor holds a shallow film, cold around the ankles. Hem sets up a relay buckets to the mid-deck, passed hand to hand, until the worst of it is gone. Cam wedges a plank in a spot that began to bow, and gives it 2 iron nails, like teeth. Sem takes inventory aloud so none of us has to do the numbers in our heads. Barley, 3 sacks and a quarter. Dried figs, 1 2/3. Fresh greens, nearly gone. Lamp oil, enough for 3 nights at full. 5 if we stretch. Rope, comfortable. Pitch, low. The word comfortable sounds strange here. It makes me think of chairs and firelight. There are no chairs left, only crates that split if you trust them, and the firelight is a worker, not company. A horse refuses the nose bag. Cam strokes its neck until the muscles stop twitching, then pulls the bag away and tests the teeth. Nothing broken. He dips his hand in a bucket, wets the oats a little, it turns the bag, and the horse accepts a few bites. He'll eat later, Cam says. He's listening. He means to the sea, to the ship, to the animals. Listening takes energy. I nod. By mid-morning, the birds have rediscovered patience. Sem hangs cloth over the cages again, leaving a gap at the bottom for air. Darkness makes a small room in their minds, and they agree to it. The hawks glare at us like judges. The doves accept everything and make soft, constant noises like a child making sure a parent hasn't left the room. We deal with the tear in a feed sack. Mice found it sometime in the night. I hate their efficiency. We trap 2 with a simple drop box and release them near the snakes, because the Ark doesn't allow sentiment to outrun consequence. Sem watches, jaw hard. We keep life, he says, but we also feed it. It isn't comfort. It's a rule. Around noon, a swell tries to teach us fear again. We answer with our hands. The Ark lists, holds, settles. A stack of crates slides just enough to remind us we're students, not masters. We adjust the lashings. Cam checks them twice, then thumps the rope with his fist the way a baker tests a loaf. Good, he says. He doesn't smile, but something in his shoulders lets go. The children wake late and quiet, hungry in the way that means they'll take 2 bites of anything and decide the rest is work. My wife makes a game of portions, breaking a fig and naming each piece after a memory. Market day, shade under the olive, the time a goat got into the kitchen. The smallest laughs and eats the goat first. For 5 minutes, the Ark is a house again. Then the lions start. It begins with one deep sound from the male note that comes up from the floor. He stands, moves his head side to side to loosen his neck, and opens his mouth. The roar fills every scene. It reaches places the rain cannot. The female answers short, lower. The horses lift their heads. A goat kicks the pen, misses, and butts the slat with its horns in confused anger. The elephants rumble and sway. The doves go silent. We brace ourselves. Not now, Ham says through his teeth, like he's talking to a child about to cry in a marketplace. He picks up a coil of rope, sets it down, picks it up again. Cam presses his palms into his eyes and then shouts at nobody. Enough. The shout is smaller than the roar and disappears into it like a pebble into surf. I walk toward the pen and stop at the line, upset for myself. Easy, I say to air and wood and muscle. Easy. It's a useless word except for the person who says it. It slows my breath and keeps my hand from doing the wrong thing. The male lion's eyes flick to me and then past me, to the door. He roars again, then lowers his head and pushes it against the planks as if listening through bone. The female gives 3 short calls. To my ear, they are not rage. They are roll call. I'm here. You're here. The world is still here, even if it's all water. The echo wakes something ugly on the mid-deck. 2 rams decide there isn't enough space for both to be first. They crash horns, skitter, slip. One catches a hoof in a crack. I'm there, then Cam. He goes to the head, and I go to the leg. We move together without talking. We wait for the ship to rise, push at the crest, and the hoof comes free. The ram staggers and shakes itself, then makes a face I recognize from every stubborn creature I have ever known. I will do the same thing again if you turn your back. We don't turn our backs. We separate them with a gate improvised from a crate lid and 2 pegs. It will hold just long enough. We try quiet work to change the air. Sem leads the children in sweeping. Ham mends a hinge that doesn't need mending just to hear useful metal against metal. Cam checks the lashings a 3rd time. My wife hums until her breath evens out and the tune carries itself. The lions keep at it. 4 roars, then silence, then 2, then a long one that seems to test the length of the Ark. The male's chest heaves. The female watches me. I feel the edges of a question. I cannot know if I am brave enough to hear it. In the early afternoon, the smell turns. The heat of bodies and the damp of walls make an air that cannot carry relief anymore. We open the upper slot a finger's width. Fresh air creeps in, cold and thin. It is enough to remind us the world isn't just this room. The rain leans against the opening with a hiss, but does not push through. Ham suggests water rotation. We damp the cloths for the birds and set out shallow pans for the smaller beasts. We ration not by thirst, but by survival, what will break first, if denied. It's a math I hate. Sem writes the schedule on a strip of rawhide. Dawn, midday, dusk. He ties it around the post by the lamp as if binding us to our own promises. Cam brings me a question he doesn't want to ask. If the lions won't stop, we have to move someone. The goats are ready to climb the walls. He's right. Panic spreads faster than water. We shift the goats 2 stalls down, trade places with the smaller cattle, more weight near the lions to calm them, more distance for the skittish. It takes the better part of an hour and 2 small arguments that end before they can begin. When we're done, the Ark feels new by one breath. The children nap in a pile like pups. My wife keeps watch with her eyes closed, the kind of watching every mother learns when sleep is a rumor. I sit and try to let my spine rest against wood that has been a tree. The thought doesn't comfort me, it steadies me. Trees don't argue, they learn when. I can learn this. A sudden clatter, grain flooding from a split seam. A pig has rooted at a bag and found the weakness. Cam startles and moves fast. Ham curses. I put a hand out to stop the panic. We knew we'd lose some, I say. Let's lose less. We scoop what we can. The pig huffs and looks ashamed in the way only pigs can, honest and not sorry. We patch the bag with a scrap of leather and a wooden pin. Sem writes grain loss and a number I don't like on his tally. The lions quiet. They don't sleep. They listen. When they are silent, the ship's other voices come through: the slow rub of rope, the tick of cooling pitch, the unmusical but faithful rhythm of a donkey cutting hay. The calm lasts 15 minutes by Ham's count, which is more generous than mine would have been. Then the ark shudders from a blow beneath us. Not wave impact. Something large, tree, beam, raft of debris strikes and drags along the hull. The sound is teeth on bone. We all freeze, then move. All at once. Ham to the seams, Cam to the beams, Sem to the lamp, me to the door. The lions raise their heads and do not roar. The blow slides aft and away. We look at each other and take a breath together. Another world passing, Sem says, then looks at the floor as if the sentence embarrassed him. It didn't. It told the truth. The afternoon lengthens into the kind of light that doesn't get credit for being day. We ration the children to stories. My wife tells one about a stray dog that used to steal figs and sleep under our bench. The smallest asks where he is now. My wife looks at me. I take the answer from her. If he knew there was a boat, he found one, I say. It is kindness, not fact. It is the right choice. When the lions begin again, the pattern is different. Not so loud, less often, touch shorter. It's enough. The ark doesn't flinch. The horses keep chewing. Even the goats only lift their heads and set them down again. We've learned the sound. It no longer owns us. At last, a thinness in the rain, not stopping, but losing weight. Ham hears it first. It's lighter, he says, and then corrects himself without pride. For now. Cam leans on the rail and lets his arms hang like empty ropes. Sem closes his eyes and breathes without counting. I check every stall once more, lay my palm on the door, not to imagine the world behind it, but to thank the boards for staying themselves. I am tired in the way that doesn't sleep easily. I write because writing is a place to put the tired where it can't spill. This is what I set down, plain as I can. The lions keep roaring. They aren't our enemies. They are the clock that tells us we are still inside time. When they fall silent, we must supply the courage they lent us by noise. The light fades until there is only the work of lamps again. We choose watches. Ham takes first, Cam second, Sem third. I tell them I'll wake before the last and take what remains. My wife gives me the look that means you will sleep if I say so, and I agree because it makes her breathe easier. Night presses close. The ark breathes with us. The lions settle into the sound they make when they trust the dark to carry a message farther than the throat can. It isn't a roar. It's something like a hum in the bones. I hear it. I don't ask it to stop. By the time the lamps need trimming, the ark has a rhythm again. It isn't gentle, but it's knowable. We brace a half breath before each lift. We bend our knees as the deck falls away. We reach for rope without looking. The body learns what the mind refuses to accept. This is home for now. Sem brings me his tallies with smudges at the corners where wet fingers grip the strip. We can stretch the lamp oil to 6 nights if we keep the flames low, he says. If the rain thins, we can use the upper slots by day for light. I nod. Do it. He hesitates. The figs won't last. Even dried, they're sucking in the damp. Then eat the figs first, I tell him. Save the stubborn food for later. Simple rule. Rules keep us from arguing with ourselves. Ham shows me 2 seams he doesn't like. I don't like them either. We heat pitch in a small pot, the flame tucked into a corner where it can't reach straw. Cam bumps the pot with his hip passing fast, and we all shout at once nonsense words, warning by muscle memory. The pot steadies. No harm done, except to our nerves. Cam mutters sorry and keeps moving. That's his way of saying he knows how close we came. We redistribute weight again. A barrel or stack of lumber there, always a little more toward the side that wants to lift. The Ark responds with a satisfied groan. Cam thumps the deck with his boot. She likes it, he says. She likes not being surprised. I can't tell if he means the ship or himself. The children wake from their nap like soldiers alert, hungry, eyes darting to sounds. My wife gives them each a small task with the authority that used to run a house and now runs a small world. Fold these cloths, coil that slack rope, sort these pebbles by size for the water pans. They obey more easily when their hands know what to do. One of them asks, "Can the lions eat our fear?" My wife answers, "The lions are busy with their own." That satisfies the child and me too. I take a turn with the birds. The cloths keep them calmer, but the air grows stale. I lift the edge a finger's width on each cage, letting a trickle pass. The doves peep. The geese consider honking and decide against it. The hawks never break their gaze. I have the sense they can see through wood. A mule refuses work, it doesn't have pawns the floor, lays back its ears at nothing. Cam puts a hand on the neck and just leans. Not pushing, just sharing weight. After a minute, the animal blows a long breath and rests one hind hoof on its tip, the way the calm ones do. All right, Cam says. We'll both be stupid later. Mid-afternoon, the Ark shivers with a series of smaller hits. Debris again, lighter this time. It's not the thud that worries me. It's the scrape after. The long whisper of wood against wood that makes your teeth feel like they're made of rope. Ham counts the intervals, lips moving. Drift coming with us, he says. If we slow, it slows. Then don't slow, I answer, as if we have any say in the matter. The lions begin a new pattern, shorter calls, then long quiet, then a single heavy roar that sits on the floorboards and takes its time leaving. The male stands and shakes water from his mane. The female gets up, turns twice, and lies down with her flank against the slats, pressing for the comfort of pressure. The sound doesn't push panic through the Ark anymore. Animals register it and return to whatever their work is, chewing, sleeping, listening. Even the goats, newly placed, only flick an ear. Sem brings me a strip of cloth with sentences on it in his small, plain hand. Read later, he says, but stays. I read now while he pretends to adjust the lamp. We are not waiting for the storm to end. We are learning how to be people while it continues. I nod. He doesn't need my approval, but he takes it like water. Ham tries a joke. If we live a year like this, we'll all be sailors, and the laugh he gets is bigger than the joke. Relief spills wherever it finds a crack. Even my wife smiles as if to say, keep them talking, any talk is good talk. A sudden squeal cuts through the din sharp, wrong. A piglet has found the gap under a stall divider and wedged halfway through. It kicks and shrieks, drawing attention we do not want. I drop to my knees, push against the hips while Sem lifts on the shoulders. Cam slides a block into the gap to widen it. Ham braces the divider with his back. On the next rise, the piglet pops free and shoots forward 3 steps before stopping to glare at the barrier as if it insulted its ancestry. We all laugh too loudly, because the alternative is to remember how easily a tiny thing becomes a disaster in here. My wife shushes us, but she's smiling, tears caught in the lines at the corners of her mouth. We agree without saying it to keep tasks small for an hour. Small tasks finish. Finished things are fuel. We cut frayed rope ends clean. We rewrap a splint on a used leg. We scrape a stubborn patch of pitch flat where it caught the hem of someone's tunic. We sort nails. We retie a knot someone tied left-handed in the dark. Each act takes the edge off of fear with a name and keeps us from inventing new ones without one. A lull in the rain lets another sound in, the steady chomp of the oxen. It's almost cheerful. I stand and watch them chew and feel, for the first time today, that eating is a vote in favor of later. I take a bite of fig too soft, a little sour, and make myself finish it. First food first, I say aloud, and the children, who were watching, mimic me solemnly and eat their share without complaint. We open the upper slot wider for 5 minutes to where the top deck. A fine mist joins us. The air tastes clean for a breath, and then tastes like us again. We shut it. That's the math here. A trade of freshness for safety, and back again. Always a scale, never a gift. Evening wants to start early, the way bad days do. The clouds turn heavier gray and the rain, though thinner, has a colder tone. The ark feels higher than it did this morning, as if the water made a point and moved on to making another. The animals sense it before we do. The elephants sway in a tighter circle. A horse lifts its head and listens so hard it forgets to breathe for 2 heartbeats. The lions stand. I take the lamp, walk the center line, and speak everyone's names, not the animals' names, though I have them, but my family's. Saying their names anchors me. It anchors them too, I think. We are not cargo. We are not a crowd. We are people with names and jobs and voices. The sea gives us one heavy shove near dusk. The ark tilts farther than I want and stays there long enough to decide whether to keep going. In that long moment, 1,000 little things decide whether to become big things. The crates hold. The pegs hold. The rope holds. My temper holds. The ship sighs and writes. I look at my hands and find they are not shaking. My knees are. We reassign watches. Hem asks for first again. I give it to him. Cam rolls his shoulders and takes second without speaking. He is proud of having found where pride is useful. Sem wants third, the quiet hour when he can hear his own thoughts. I take last, which in a place like this is every hour. After a small meal, grain softened in warm water, a sliver of fig each, the last of a heel of bread, my wife guarded like a relic. The children drift toward sleep. The youngest asks if the lions will roar again. Yes, I say. Will we be afraid? A little, I answer. Is that bad? No, I tell her. It means we can still hear. She closes her eyes, satisfied with the rule she can carry. The quiet doesn't last. The male lion lifts his head and gives one long call. It rolls along the ribs of the ark and up into the roof, and seems to leak out into the rain and come back softer. The female answers, a low rumble. Neither sound is angry. They are simply present. The ark does not tense. I do not either. Ham brings me a small problem that feels like a mercy. A hinge squeaks and will wake the children during watch changes. We rub it with a smear of fat and it stops complaining. He grins like a thief who succeeded at theft that hurts no one. We can still fix things, he says. We can, I agree. That's half of it. He waits. What's the other half? Knowing what not to fix. We both look at the lion pen on purpose, and then away on purpose. There's a moment, perhaps an hour after dusk, when the soundscape changes in a way only people who have been listening all day can tell. The rain steps back a pace. The sea stops trying to make a point, and just does its job. The ark takes the hint and settles into her work as well. The animals take their cues from us in a loop that I do not fully understand, but rely on as if I did. My wife leans her head against the door and closes her eyes. I do too, for a breath, and feel the thrum of everything and everyone we've asked this door to hold back. Sem sits beside me and doesn't talk. After a while he says, I thought the roaring meant we were failing. And now? I ask. Now? I think it means they're telling the truth, so we don't have to shout it. I tilt my head. What truth? He hesitates. That we are scared and it's not a sin. I put my hand on the boy's shoulder. It isn't, I say. It's a tool. He lets that sentence sit with him for a while, then nods as if storing it somewhere useful. The lamps burn low. We trim wicks and spare oil. The children breathe in little whistles that I had forgotten they make. A donkey dreams and brays once, cut off by its own surprise. The lions settle into that bone-deep hum I heard earlier. When it comes, I don't brace. I let it move through me like a weather that lives inside as much as out. Before I lay the pen down for this watch, I write a simple note to the man I will be tomorrow morning if I am lucky. Keep the list short, the orders plain, the anger brief, the gratitude longer than both. When the lions speak, listen first. When they are silent, do not ask them to carry what is ours. I am Noah. Day 2 continues. The rain is lighter. The ark knows us a little better, and we her. The lions are not quiet, but their noise no longer owns our hands. The night deepens, but it isn't dark. Nothing here is truly dark. The lamps flicker against the boards, and each movement of the flame makes the walls breathe. The rain has returned to its steady rhythm. No thunder now, only a sound like endless sweeping. The ark moves as if it's remembering the shore, but not enough to return to it. Cam's on second watch. I can hear his boots pacing above me, back and forth, the rhythm as constant as the rain. He doesn't trust the quiet. None of us do. Ham has fallen asleep sitting up, his hand still holding a piece of rope he was twisting into knots for comfort. My wife lies near the children, her face softened by exhaustion. The youngest clutches a scrap of fabric, part of her old dress, I think, and murmurs in her sleep. For a moment, the world feels smaller than ever. The lions stir again. Not the roaring that tears the air in half, something low, rumbling, intimate. A sound that belongs in the chest more than in the mouth. The male rises, stretches, and pads along the pen. The floor under my feet carries the vibration. His mate watches him and lets out a sound that's almost tender. Even fear has its quiet forms. Cam comes down the ladder. His eyes are wide, face slick with sweat. Something hit the side, he says. Hard. He doesn't need to describe it. I felt it too. The whole hull gave a shudder. Not like a wave, but a blow. The ark groaned as if something living scraped its skin. I grab a torch and follow him up. The wind slaps the rain sideways, hissing through every gap. I can barely see. The deck gleams, slick and black. The sea stretches out like a moving sheet of metal. No beginning, no end. Another flash, something pale floating in the water. For an instant, it looks like a hand. I blink, and it's gone. Maybe it was a branch, maybe not. Cam steadies himself on the rail. It's not just water out there, he mutters. There are things floating, trees, maybe parts of houses. His voice trails off. We don't name what else it could be. We secure what we can and retreat below. The moment the hatch shuts, the warmth of the ark swallows us again, too warm, too close. The smell of wet animal and oil feels alive. The children stir at the noise. One asks, "Is it morning?" I tell her not yet. She sighs and turns away. Ham wakes and joins Cam in checking the lower deck. I hear their footsteps, their voices low. The boards creak and answer like old bones. I close my eyes for a moment, listening to the rain and the muted conversation of men trying not to frighten each other. The lions roar suddenly, short, sharp, like a command. Every animal stills. For a second, even the ark itself seems to hesitate. The roar isn't long, but it slices through everything. It's not anger, it's alertness. I've come to recognize the difference. When they roar like that, something is changing outside, or inside. Sem calls from the far side. "Father, one of the lambs is missing." I rush over. The pen's gate is bent, the latch loose, a gap wide enough for panic to squeeze through. We search by torchlight. The animals shift, uneasy under our urgency. Then we find it, a small lamb, trembling near the base of the lion's pen. My wife gasps. The lamb presses against the bars, frozen. The lions are awake now, silent, their eyes gleaming. The male steps forward. For one endless heartbeat, no one moves. Then he lowers his head, not toward the lamb, but to the ground. He sniffs, lets out a single breath that ripples the straw, and steps back. The lamb bolts toward us. Cam grabs it, muttering something that sounds like a prayer. We fix the latch, double the rope. My wife wipes her eyes. Ham whispers, "Even they have mercy." I want to believe that. After that, none of us can sleep. We sit near the lamp, not talking much. The children doze against her side. My wife hums again an old tune, the kind that sounds like it remembers being sung outdoors. I watch the light flicker across the walls and think about how strange it is to survive while everything else drowns. Sem breaks the silence. "Do you think they miss the world?" he asks. I don't need to ask who. "Yes," I say. "Maybe more than we do. They don't understand why it's gone." He nods, staring at the floor. "Neither do I." The honesty in his voice hurts. There's nothing I can say to fix it. All I can do is keep the ark floating, hour by hour. As the night stretches on, the sound changes again. The rain slows, lighter but colder. The ark rocks gently, a tired rhythm. For a while, the lions are quiet. The air cools enough that we can breathe easier. Ham checks the seams again, fingers tracing the pitch like a prayer bead. Cam sits beside the door, rubbing his hands over his face. Then, without warning, the lions begin again, louder, deeper, more insistent. The children wake crying. The horses snort and stomp. The goats bleat. The pigs squeal. Chaos rises like the flood all over again. I shout orders. Ham, get the lanterns. Sem, with me. Cam rushes to steady the oxen. The ark shakes with motion, hooves, wings, voices, panic. The male lion's roar dominates everything. It's deafening, physical. It pounds against the walls like a heartbeat from the world outside. But this time, I don't tell them to be quiet. I don't even move toward the pen. I just stand there, listening. Because beneath the roar, I hear something else. The rhythm of it matches the waves, the wind, the groan of the ark. It's all the same voice. Maybe they're not warning us. Maybe they're reminding us. When the chaos finally subsides, everyone is exhausted. The animals lie down. The lions stop. The rain softens to a whisper. I can almost hear the wood creak with relief. Cam sits down heavily beside me. They're saying something, he says. But what? I look at the pen. That we're still alive, I answer. That we haven't gone silent yet. He doesn't reply, but he doesn't argue either. We clean what we can, fix what broke. When it's done, there's nothing left but the sound of breathing, the animals, the seas, our own. My wife leans her head against my shoulder. Do you think God hears us over all this noise? Yes, I tell her. He listens through it. She smiles faintly. Then maybe that's why he made the lions roar. I don't know if she's right. But when I close my eyes, the silence that follows feels less heavy. The storm does not end. It simply changes shape. The rain grows fine as hair, almost invisible. The air tastes of metal and wood smoke. We can move without shouting now. The lions sleep. The kind of sleep that trusts the night to stand guard. I envy them. We take turns sitting near the door, listening to what the world is doing. It makes small noises, drops, creaks, sighs. The water slaps the hull softly, as if testing us. I write because writing feels like breathing without taking air from anyone else. Sem reads what he wrote earlier and smiles faintly. It's strange, he says, but I think I'm beginning to like the sound of rain. It means the sky still remembers us. I tell him maybe it remembers. Maybe it apologizes. He looks at me like a man half ready to forgive and half afraid to. Ham brings a cup of water from the reserve. It tastes like wood, he says, and drinks anyway. Everything does now. He sits beside me and leans his head back against the beam. Do you think we'll stop smelling like this when it's over? I laugh. Probably not. The laugh surprises both of us. It sounds alive. My wife wakes to check the children, covers them again, and joins us. She looks at the lions. They're quiet, she says. Maybe they've said all they needed to. I look at her hands cracked from work, streaked with pitch, and answer. Maybe they're waiting for us to listen. We eat a little bread, softer now from the damp. It crumbles but still tastes of effort. The goats murmur. The oxen breathe in pairs. The birds whisper under their cloths. It's as if everything has decided to speak in small voices now that shouting has done its work. I check the seams again. The pitch holds. The ark feels steadier, though she still sighs like an old tree in the wind. The smell of smoke and straw clings to my beard. I imagine the world outside, silent hills underwater, trees drifting like ghosts, cities erased. I don't let myself stay with that picture long. Ham dozes, head on knees. Cam returns from his watch with his hair plastered to his face, soaked even though he's been under a roof. The sea doesn't stop breathing, he says. I keep waiting for it to take a break. I tell him, maybe it will when we do. He grins, half serious. Then it never will. We fall into work again. Routine is salvation. There's always something, grain to dry, rope to rewrap, leaks to watch. My wife takes the children to feed the rabbits. Their laughter echoes down the corridor, and for a moment, the ark feels young. The lions lift their heads, listen, not angry, just aware. Sem joins me near the door with a small jar. Oil for the hinges, he says. We rub the metal until it stops complaining. The small victories add up. A kind of worship made from maintenance. The rain lightens more, enough that I risk opening the upper vent wider. Air rushes in cold, clean, full of the smell of wet sky. Everyone stops for a heartbeat, inhaling. It's almost too much after the thick air inside. My wife closes her eyes and smiles. The first true smile I've seen since we sealed the door. That's how home smelled, she whispers. Then, far off, thunder again, soft, low, distant. Not threat, just reminder. The sky clearing its throat. We close the vent but keep the air in our lungs, as long as it stays new. Cam sits near the lions, cleaning tools. The male lifts his head, watching the movement of Cam's hands. You think he remembers the hunt? Cam asks. Probably, I say. He's dreaming it right now. Do you? He asks me. Remember the world? I think before answering. I remember enough to miss it, not enough to go back. He nods. Then maybe we're all lions now. Sem joins us, holding his notes. They roar because they can, he says. We whisper because we think it's polite. Maybe they've got it right. Ham laughs from the corner. If you start roaring, write it down first. The small talk carries us through the next hours. The sea steadies. The rain becomes a thin mist that barely sounds like itself anymore. The ark creaks less. For once, there's no emergency to run toward. The stillness feels strange. I sit down with my back to the door. I can feel the faint vibration of the water through the wood, the heartbeat of a new world forming underneath. It's slow, patient. The lions breathe in sync with it. I think of all the words I haven't said, apologies, fears, questions. I think of the friends and faces left behind. I wonder if faith means not asking those questions anymore, or asking them even when you know the answers won't come. The youngest wakes and toddles over, climbs into my lap. Are the lions good now? She asks. Yes, I tell her. They're tired. Can I see them? Tomorrow? Do they dream? Everyone dreams, I say. Even the ark, she yawns. What does the ark dream about? I look up at the beams, black and shining in the lamplight. About the land it came from, I answer. About trees and wind and birds sitting on its branches before it had to float. She smiles, already half asleep. Then we'll dream with it. When she's asleep again, I write. The words come easier now. The lions have stopped roaring. The sea hasn't. Maybe that's how the world keeps balance. When one voice quiets, another carries the sound. The rain speaks for the sky. The lions speak for the earth. And maybe we just maybe speak for hope. I close the journal for a while. My hands ache. The air feels lighter, almost gentle. The lamps burn steady without smoke. My wife hums again. Ham joins softly, out of tune but trying. Sem keeps writing. Cam sharpens a knife in rhythm with the song. The lions sleep, paws twitching, as if chasing something that isn't there anymore. The ark rocks like a cradle, slow and certain. Before sleeping, I check everything one last time: the pens, the ropes, the door. I press my hand against the wood and whisper, "Hold." It does. I return to my place beside my family. My wife reaches for my hand without opening her eyes. Do you hear it? She murmurs. The quiet? Yes, I whisper back. It's not silence anymore. It's peace. The sea hums below us. The ark answers. Somewhere in the dark, a lion breathes, and the sound is enough. I am Noah. Day 2 ends. The lions have spoken. The world is listening.